But as he searches for it, Genya grabs his neck and he tells him he's gonna defeat this demon by himself. Now look here, buddy. I don't know who you're feeling like, but
you're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
And this man is literally foaming at the mouth. But Tanjiro confuses him with positive reinforcement.
Hey man, it's your boy Alex, and welcome back to another bang.
Today, we are talking about Demon Slayer, and more specifically, when the Demon Slayers travel to the Swordsmith village to take on 2 upper moons. Now this one's going to be a 2-parter, so my next video is going to have the last part of the arc. But for now, if you have not yet seen episodes 48 through 51 of Demon Slayer, spoiler warnings ahead. And without further ado, it's time to get unhinged. So we start off with Tokito saving this kid from this demonic Godine, and after he chops off its head, it continues to move, and moments later, it completely regenerates. So Tokito aims for the vase on his head and defeats it, and as Kotetsu is trying to thank him, this man just walks away, but he stops him and asks him to please help save Mr. Haganeska, and Tokito is like, no. But he suddenly remembered the words of his master, and decided to help out after all, and as they run off, we cut to Tanjiro, who is mere seconds away from being hyper-beamed, but he cuts the demon's head off at the last second, and normally, that would be a good thing, but in this case, not so much, because now he's being attacked by 2 different sound waves. But after screaming his lungs out, this man starts smiling, because he realized that the more heads there are, the weaker the attack is. But after he turns them into shish kebabs, he gets attacked from behind by Upper Moon Force Joy Form, and as he dodges the attack, the demonic bird flies in and begins to cut him up, but Tanjiro counters back and cuts his face open. But with the demon's regeneration and his giant wings, Tanjiro is still at a disadvantage. We then cut to Nezuko and Genya, who are being jumped by the rest of Upper 4's emotions, and they are straight toying with them. But suddenly, Azazu's spear gets stuck, and the moment he turns his head, he takes a double pump to the face, but he quickly regenerates and then yanks his spear out of Genya's body. But right before Azazu can take him out, he dodges his attack and strikes from behind. And right before he takes off his head, Sekido slams his staff and electrocutes him. But somehow, in the middle of being hit with a demonic taser, Genya still manages to pull the trigger. But while still in the air, he gets smacked into the next room. And to make things worse, Kariko puts his nasty ass foot through Nezuko's stomach, but she counters back by kicking his face open. And after she activates her blood demon art, she rips off his arm and uses his own weapon to send him flying back. But when she turns to use it on Sekido, he stabs her through the neck and begins to electrocute her. And in the next room, this man Genya has somehow gotten up after being stabbed with this ginormous spear. And now we cut back to Tanjiro, who's still facing off against Urogi. And as he flies in, Tanjiro begins to run away. And when Urogi gets closer, Tanjiro dodges his attack and stabs him through the face. And after Urogi claws his back, they are now both flying in the air, and Tanjiro pushes him back all the way into the building that Genya and Nezuko are in. And when they push through the wall, Sekido is completely baffled. Bro is like, what is going on? How is my whole team completely selling? And when Tanjiro rushes in, he uses Urogi's foot to block Sekido's attack. And right after, he cuts through Sekido's tongue and attempts to save Nezuko. And as he pulls out the staff, Sekido regenerates and forces him into the ground. But instead of being shocked, he looks up to see Nezuko gripping the staff. And then she activates her blood demon art ability, when suddenly, Kariko appears out of nowhere and forces them onto the floor. And with the pressure knocking them out, we cut to Mitsuri running through the forest, ready for action. While running through the forest, Tokito dashes in and saves Mr. Kanamori from a demon, and after they regroup, they head out to save Mr. Haganeska, but suddenly, Tokito snatches him back, because the demon they're looking for has finally arrived. And as Tokito walks towards the vase, out pops Upper Moon 5, Gyokko. We then cut back to Nezuko and Tanjiro running away from Upper Moon 4, but they get shocked in the process, and after falling to the ground, they are still getting attacked, so Tanjiro grabs Nezuko and runs off, but Kariko continues to hawk them down, and moments after he attacks, they get blasted through the building. And as Upper 4 is looking for them through the rubble, we cut back to Tokito and Upper 5. And instead of fighting, Gyokko asks him if he can show off his artwork. And after clapping his hands, this monster shows them a conglomerate of multiple swordsmiths stuck together. And what makes it worse is they're somehow still alive. They're just over here tweaking and twitching. But seconds later, Tokito activates his mist and attacks him. But Gyokko retreats to the roof. But after Tokito attacks his vase, he just appears in another one. And look at how hideous this man is. Where does Muzan be finding these people, bruh? Just out here recruiting a bunch of freaks. And as Tokito is trying to assess the situation, Gyokko summons some demonic goldfish and shoots needles at Kotetsu. But before they get there, Tokito uses his own body to block them. And look at this man's face. There is no reason to be nonchalant right now. Like he really said,
light work, no reaction.
Man, forget that. I'm reacting. And while we're on the subject, you are not catching me using my face to block anything. The last thing Kotetsu would have heard was, I'm sorry, little one. But hey, that's just me. And as Tokito continues to deflect them, Kanamori grabs Kotetsu and runs away. And now, it's just Tokito versus Gyokko. And with no hesitation, Tokito dashes in. And as he cuts his neck, Gyokko puts him in a water prison. And now this 14-year-old child is full of needles, upside down, and surrounded by water. Like, you really mean to tell me they couldn't find any adults to do this? The only thing Tokito should be worried about is finding out which starter Pokemon to choose. But instead, he's fighting a demon who uses humans as arts and crafts. And with him being stuck in the water prison, we cut back to Nezuko and Tanjiro in the rubble. And as Nezuko holds on to Tanjiro's sword, she activates her blood demon art and turns his black blade red. And with Tanjiro's new upgraded weapon, he faces off against Upper Moon 4. And as his Demon Slayer mark activates and Urugi flies in, Tanjiro yells out, "Inokami Kagura, Sun Halo Dragon," as he dashes in and cuts off his head. And in the blink of an eye, he dashes to Karaku and cuts off his head. And next up is Sekido, who reaches the same fate. And with 3 down, only 1 remains. And when Tanjiro turns his head, Genya has already decapitated the 4th demon. But when Tanjiro walks closer to him, Genya is bearing fangs with the look of a demon in his eyes. As Tanjiro observes Genya, one of the demons begins to scream out, and even though they removed all of their heads, they're all still alive. And after Tanjiro frees Nezuko, he senses a 5th demon, but as he searches for it, Genya grabs his neck, and he tells him he's gonna defeat this demon by himself. Now look here, buddy, I don't know who you're feeling like, but
You're not that guy, pal, trust me. You're not that guy.
and this man is literally foaming at the mouth. But Tanjiro confuses him with positive reinforcement, but seconds later, the angry demon attacks. So Tanjiro tells Genya to deal with the 4 of them while he looks for the 5th demon. But lucky for Genya, Nezuko joins him. And while him and Nezuko are holding their own, Tanjiro closes his eyes and locates his target. But as he runs off, the other demons stop him. So he tells Genya its location and sends him to find it instead. But now, him and Nezuko are getting jumped. But before they can finish her off, he saves her at the last second. But him and Nezuko can only hold off for so long. But even as she's getting beat, he continues to guide Genya towards the demon. And as he's looking around, he eventually finds it. And I get that it's tiny, but how do you miss this point blank shot? Because now it's over here just skedaddling away. But when he attempts to chop off its head, his sword breaks. And after he blows his back out, it does no damage. And mid crash out, Sekido appears behind him. And before he gets taken out, Tanjiro dashes in and saves him. But now Tanjiro's getting attacked from behind. But when he turns around, Genya has used his body to deflect the attack. And now this man is just full of holes. But as he somehow continues shooting, Tanjiro runs off to find the demon. And when he locates him, he chases him down and attempts to cut off his head. As Tanjiro slices down, the demon begins to scream, but when he begins to cut through his neck, he senses a terrible presence behind him. And when he turns around, he gets blasted backwards. And the moment the dust settles, he's attacked by a wooden hydra. And before he gets chomped in half, Nezuko saves him. But now, standing before him is Hantengu's most powerful form. And now with the 4 emotions combined together, they have created the demonic avatar, the demon filled with hatred, Zohakuten. And I'm not gonna lie, but he is kinda clean. I mean, look, I know he's a demon of hatred, but you gotta admit,
He got that shit on though.
and the moment he pounds his drum, he covers the main body. And now the Demon Slayers are really in trouble because his stare alone immobilizes them. And not only is he powerful, but he's an S-tier manipulator because he has the nerve to call them awful villains. And Tanjiro was like, how are we the villains? And he tells them it's because they tried to decapitate a small, weak being.
What?
I'm sorry, is the weak being you're referring to the upper rank demon? Like, how delusional can you be? Do you know how mad I would be if I was Tanjiro right now? Like, this crybaby has been known to have killed over a few thousand people, and I'm the problem? Yeah, alright. And as Tanjiro stands up to him, everyone else watches intensely. And the moment Zohakuten bangs his drum, his dragons attack. But we cut back to Tokito, who is still drowning. And after one final effort, he has finally run out of air. And as he begins to reminisce, he accepts his fate. And as Gyokko enters the shack, somebody is sharpening a sword, and they are paying him no mind. And look at Buddy's forearms. Who is that, Sam Sulek? But now Gyokko starts to get angry because he's still being ignored. And even after attacking him, Mr. Haganeska still doesn't react. But back outside, Tokito begins to see visions of Tanjiro as he slowly begins to die. But suddenly, Kotetsu appears and tries to break him out. And unfortunately, he does not notice this ugly ass demon behind him. And seconds later, he gets stabbed in the stomach. But regardless, he walks over to Tokito and blows air into his bubble. And after he inhales it, he says, "Mist breathing, second form, 8-layered mist," as he cuts through the bubble and breaks free. Alright, so that's it for today's video. But don't worry, part 2 is coming out next week, so stay tuned. And once again, I appreciate everybody for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe as well. It's your boy Atlas, and I'll catch you next time.